Hi everyone, my name is Steph, this is the Novelty Corner and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about illustrated covers that I like and illustrated covers that I maybe don't like as much. This idea for cover conversations came out of a conversation with Heather and some other friends, and I've been meaning to do it in various different ways and I keep starting and then not filming it. So I'm going to try in this format where I go through various cover types, so there might be multiple videos, because I think there are, I have different responses to different types of book covers, whether they're illustrated covers or people covers or text heavy covers or individual items on covers. The word I'm looking for here is discrete covers, which I do know and just clearly could not get out of my mouth in this video. There are definitely things that I like and things that I don't like about various books that sit within that category. So today I just thought I would start with illustrated covers. I don't know how this is going to go. This is going to be fairly off the cuff, just some thoughts. I've made a couple of notes, but I'm sort of just going to talk about my feelings about things. And I'm going to make my life really difficult for myself because I'm going to have to insert some images, but I also have a ginormous pile of books behind me that I've pulled off the shelf that I'm going to have to put back at the end of this video, and that I did not think through properly. I thought I would start off, I've sort of got three categories of illustrated covers that I'm going to talk about, and they're kind of arbitrary categories that I have made up. So one is sort of the very blocky, faceless sort of covers. One is the minimalist illustrated cover, and one is a very detailed illustrated cover. And I'm going to start with the block illustrated covers because I know a lot of people do not necessarily like these, but depending on how well they're done, I quite enjoy them myself. The first book I'm going to mention, I kind of tossed and turned about whether I was going to include it in this category or in another one, but I wanted to mention Emily Henry's covers because while this one isn't specifically blocky, it does have that illustrative style and the characters don't really have faces. I actually really like this. I like the colors on Emily Henry's books. I know that not everyone likes them for that. I should also preface, this is not a commentary on the books themselves. I'm purely talking about covers. But I like the contrast of the covers. I like that this does have a bit of detail in it without it being too intricate. And this is a book about a group of friends on holiday, and to me this cover reflects that, so that works for me. But I guess when I talk about things that are really specifically like block illustrations, I'm talking about something like this series, which is The Swift Hat Trick by Hannah Cowan. I love these covers. I know that they don't have faces, but I don't think that they need to, because I think the way that the books have been laid out, you've got the giant covers, you've got the contrast of the color and the white, and then the illustration. I think these really work. And to me, these are very aesthetically pleasing. One of the special edition series by Eden Finley and Saxon James of the CU Hockey series has something similar, except these characters have faces. And I think those also look really good. And if I had possibly been more organized and paid attention, I probably would have bought those copies when I was at Rare, although I also don't mind the people cover versions of these books either. And for some reason I couldn't find my copy of The True Love Experiment by Christina, but that is another one where we have the sort of similar cover style to the Emily Henry books that I actually really like. I think it gets the point of the story across. It's bright, colorful and eye-catching, but it doesn't have a significant level of detail in them. Another one that I like is When Gracie Met the Grump. Again, this is because I think the cover fits the content of the story. This is a superhero book, and I think you kind of get that vibe from the way this is set up. You have the silhouette in the background, you have contrasting colors, and you have a giant title in the middle. To me, I like this. It tells me exactly what I'm getting from the book. Okay, then we're coming to what I call the minimalist illustrated covers. So you might have an illustration, it might have people on the cover, they might even have faces, but there's not a huge amount going on in the background. So it might be there contrasting with the text and the title on the front cover, or there's a good contrast between the colors or something like that. This is probably going to be very controversial because some of my favorite books are in the category of things that I don't necessarily find aesthetically pleasing on the book cover. But again, as I said, this is not about loving the books, it is about the covers. First thing I want to mention are Sunny Disposition and Team Players by Deanna Gray. I love these covers because even though you really only have the people on the cover and they're quite large, which I also like. I like it when they take up a bigger amount of space on the cover. I think it balances things a lot better. I like that the background color or the background block color is in contrast to the actual illustration, so you don't lose the people into the cover. And my flip side of that is The Hookup Plan by Farrah Rochon, in which I feel like we sort of lose these characters in the background of the dark purple. I like it when that contrast is a little bit better, so that you feel like when the first thing you look at on this cover is the people. But to me, I'm constantly trying to discern between the dark purple and the illustration, and that hurts my eyes. Whereas Sunny Disposition, you have a lighter background, you see the characters straight away. The lighter purple on team players also helps you see those characters straight away. So it's a little minor thing, but it's just something that I noticed personally for myself. I also liked this version of The Hating Game. I don't particularly like the UK cover of The Hating Game because you sort of lose the characters in the background, whereas at least here they are a lot bigger, they're interacting with the title, so you have to pay attention to them. Same thing in The Worst Best Man, the characters are interacting with the title, so even though they're smaller and they're in the background, which normally is not my favorite thing, it draws your eye in, and so you have to pay attention to exactly what's going on, and you have to look closely at the picture because it impacts on the title. And this is sort of where I get into controversial territory, because these are the books that I'm about to mention are books that I love, but I am not necessarily the biggest fan of these covers, and I never have been the biggest fan of these covers, and that is the Bergman Brothers series. Like, I love the illustrations, but I feel like they're not balanced, because this one's a little bit better because I think the characters interact with the title a little bit more, but even still, it still feels a little unbalanced for me. So that's just a personal quirk, because I actually really like the artwork on them. I just wish that it felt a little bit more balanced for me. Speaking of balance, I love the cover of Weather Girl. I think this is really clever because the umbrella creates this space for you to put a title right in the center, and it doesn't take away from the illustration. It's also very, very cute. A book that does something similar but doesn't work necessarily as well for me is 99% Mine by Sally Thorne. Like, we have this pie chart, but we lose them down here. So you kind of, I don't know necessarily what I'm getting here. I know which one I want to pick up and read straight away from just comparing these two books. I also really like the UK cover of Love and Other Disasters by Anita Kelly, because this one has the characters just falling down the page with all sorts of cooking implements, which I think is really cool. Like, that's a really nice example of much smaller images working for the sake of what's happening in the book. Like, I really like that. One that probably doesn't work as well for me in that style is Well Met by Jen DeLuca, or the other books in that series, because all of those characters are much smaller and they're centered. Again, it's sort of that balance thing. I just feel like you could do so much more. Oh gosh, this is also going to be controversial because I love these books, but similarly to the Chloe Liese books, I feel like the Brown sisters get a little bit lost on these covers just because they're so small. I mean, I would have loved to have seen these illustrations because I love them. Like, the artwork is fantastic. I would have loved to see how we could possibly blow that up and have it interact with the text more on the page. But at the same time, I also know that probably the intention of this was to make this more of a title specific book series and book cover series. So like, I have to take that with a grain of salt, because I would have loved to have seen these much bigger, because I think they're so cute and so fun and so different at the time that they were released to anything else that we were getting, that it would have made them really stand out. But I think they tried to go for, let's have really big text and make that stand out. All right, then we're going to talk about some more detailed illustrated covers that I like and don't necessarily like. And to be fair, my list of book covers that I don't like is very, very small. And I might just start with those. And again, these will probably be controversial, but you know what, here we go. I'm not a huge fan of the cover of Icebreaker. Again, I like the illustrated artwork of the characters, and I like that we get detailed people and we can see uniforms and whatnot. I just feel like it kind of gets lost in the background, and I know it's an ice rink and I know that there's not a huge amount of color there, but maybe the characters could have been bigger, or they could have taken up more space or something. Like, it just, for me, this doesn't work as effectively as other things. I kind of look at the cover and I sort of take the whole thing and I'm like, okay, well, that's fine. But if I wanted to look at specific details, I'd have to pull it up here. And I'm like, I'm not doing that. Another series where I like, in fact, I love the artwork on the covers and I love how big it is. For me, this is where the title fonts let down these books 100%, is the Kimberly Lemming books. Because in this one, I think the title gets lost in the background. That's just a color choice. And that's because you've got a lot of blue and white, and it's really hard to find colors that stand out on that. It makes it really, really hard. This one's a little bit better. It is legitimately hard when you have a huge block of text like these really long titles to fit them in and make it look aesthetically pleasing. So I think this is the best possible outcome. The new version is atrocious. I'm just gonna put that out there. That is, no. I have not great eyesight, guys. Like, I have to work to distinguish that title from the background. In terms of things that I like, in case you thought that I would have no Chloe Liese books that I love the covers of, that is not true. I love the cover of Two Wrongs Make a Right. Big picture, title, I think this works. It feels very balanced. I also love the mistletoe motif because you have a very detailed background. You have a text color and font that stands out from the background, and this works for me. We have one of Alexis Hall's original covers for the book For Real. This just is very moody, atmospheric. I love the color choice in here. I love the way that this all works. And I love that the characters are the central focus, but you've got this light in the background. Like, this works for me. I'm a little bit apprehensive about what the new cover for this book is going to be like, because Glitterland is not necessarily my favorite. Like, I like it and I like what it symbolizes for the story, but I'm kind of apprehensive about what this will look like, because I think this accurately depicts specific things that happen in this book, and it really gives you a good sense of what you're getting into. The next one is a book I haven't read yet. I just recently got it, and I got it specifically for this edition because I love this cover. It is The Roommate Arrangement by Saxon James. I love the level of detail in this. I love the background. I love how it all just works together, and it just makes my heart happy. I also really like the cover for The Game Plan by Amy Aislinn. Again, you have the central characters, but I think the background and the level of detail in the background, which compared to Icebreaker, these are both hockey romances. And I know we talked about the hockey rink and the color choices and whatever. Almost same premise. Couples in the center, background. This one works so much better for me just because of the way that it's all balanced out. And I keep saying that, but for me, balance on a cover is just essential. I love the illustration on most of Regina Abel's Prime Mating Agency series, specifically this one. I love this. Can you tell I like a big illustration on the cover? I'm beginning to think that that's because I don't visualize. So the more detail you give me, the better it is. And the bigger it is, the easier I see it. We all know Katie Robert is sort of the queen of these beautiful illustrated clinch covers for her monster romances. But the other thing that I really like is it's always picture in the center. And in fact, I've even got one of the Wicked Villains books here because I also love these. Picture in the center, author, title. She has a branding scheme going on, so you know exactly what you're going to get. So those are all the physical books that I had. Other things that I really love. I love the detail on Role Playing by Kathy Yardley. I just got this from Amazon First Reads. I can't wait to read it. I'm so excited. But I love the cover. The level of detail in it, the color scheme of it, I'm just very drawn to it. Evie Mitchell's Not My Type, Love Flushed. I love these because even though you have the characters in the center of the page, everything's kind of balanced between the title and the author, but also the little details that tie in and link to the story also help sort of bring it together so it feels very balanced. Battle Royal by Lucy Parker just has a really great look to it and is very bright and colorful and draws your eye in. Boyfriend Material and Husband Material by Alexis Hall. I could have pulled those off the shelf, I forgot to. Again, there's a lot to look at, but the color scheme and the fact that we are limited to specific colors and then you just have these characters interacting with what's on the background just works for me. West Side Story by Priscilla Oliveras is one that I really liked just because of the way that the couple is positioned on the page, the way the text is positioned, and then the way that there are just little additional accents that fill in the space so it feels like it's full without it being overwhelming. Oh my gosh, I forgot to pull Lillian Lark off the shelf, but she also does really great illustrated monster romance covers. The level of detail in them is really interesting, and it also helps me, again, with that visualization thing that I can actually picture what's going on, because to be honest, if I had nothing like that, I would be nowhere. And then also I think the final ones I want to mention are Anita Kelly's novellas. So there is Sing Anyway, Our Favorite Songs, and Wherever Is Your Heart. I love them. They have gorgeous character illustrations. They're big, they're bold, they take up the cover, and you just want to get to know these characters. All right, so that is my very random, non-art professional, non-cover art professional opinion on a whole bunch of books. And that's just what it is. It is an opinion. You do not have to agree with me. This is just where my head is, and maybe that gives you a bit of an insight into who I am. I actually quite like illustrated covers. I know that a lot of people don't, but clearly I have preferences for what I do and don't like in an illustrated cover, and you know, that's always personal. Now I have to put all of these books back on the shelf, so life choices have been made. In the comments, I would love to know if you like illustrated covers, and if you do you have a favorite one, or what kind of style do you like? Feel free to let me know down below. Otherwise, if you just want to let me know that you're here but you don't want to leave a comment, feel free to leave a flower emoji down below. I hope that wherever you are in the world, you're staying safe and healthy, and I will see you in my next video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye everyone.